evening alarm suddenly erupts with an annoying beep, dragging our disgusting dog, Jinsu, out of a deep sleep. Still half asleep, he reaches over and shuts it off before sitting up and rubbing his tired eyes while letting out a huge yawn. At first glance, he looks like any other exhausted college student getting ready for another miserable day. However, there is one very unusual thing about his current living situation. A young woman named Dajong is living in the same room as him, and she is already dressed and relaxing nearby. The moment Jinsu wakes up, she starts complaining about his alarm, saying that the sound is unbearably irritating when he is supposed to be getting ready for work. Before he can properly apologize, Dajong grabs a large cat plushie and smacks him in the face with it. She orders him to stop standing there and get out of the room immediately. Then, as if that were not enough, she tells him to buy her another toy on his way home. Once again, Jinsu finds himself reminded that he is basically living with his own personal bully. With a tired sigh, Jinsu wonders how his life ever became such a mess. The truth is, his complicated relationship with Dajong did not begin during college. Their miserable history actually goes back 3 years to high school, when they were both in classroom 3A. Even back then, Dajong treated Jinsu like her personal servant. She constantly ordered him around and regularly sent him to the store to buy snacks for her during school. One day, Jinsu tries explaining that he has no money left because he lost it through his terrible cryptocurrency investments. Dajong simply looks at him with a cold expression and calls him pathetic for messing around with those stupid coins. Despite insulting him, she then folds her arms and reminds him that she already gave him her credit card so he can handle her errands. Jinsu cannot help but find the situation ridiculous. After 3 straight years of being bullied by Dajong, they have somehow developed enough trust for her to hand over her own money to him. As he rushes toward the convenience store, Jinsu starts feeling hopeful. He tells himself that all of this suffering will finally end once they graduate. After that, he will enter university and finally experience some freedom. There is no chance, he thinks, that a girl like Dajong could somehow end up at the same college. Unfortunately for him, that hope does not last long. When Jinsu finally makes it back to the classroom, he is completely out of breath from running. Dajong is waiting for him with a smug and suspicious-looking grin. She proudly lifts up her phone and shows him her digital acceptance letter. Then, with a cheerful smile, she reveals that she got accepted into the exact same college as him. She laughs as she tells Jinsu that he will have to remain her slave for several more years. Jinsu is completely horrified. His dream of finally escaping Dajong instantly falls apart. He can only grab his head in despair as he realizes that his supposed freedom has been destroyed before it even began. One day, Jinsu arrives home and finds the place completely silent, just like usual. There is no one around, but he notices some cash and a note sitting on the dining table. His mother has left for Japan for an entire week. Jinsu stares at the money with a mixture of frustration and resignation. To him, it feels as though his mother believes that throwing money at his problems will somehow make everything disappear. Overcome by stress and frustration, Jinsu makes a terrible decision. He decides to gamble all of his built-up stress away by investing in cryptocurrency. Sitting in front of his computer, Jinsu wears a huge, slightly unhinged grin. The coin he is watching appears to be rising rapidly, and he convinces himself that he would be an idiot not to buy it. As the jagged market graph keeps climbing, excitement fills him with renewed confidence. He begins imagining that he might finally recover all the money he has lost. But that excitement lasts only a moment. The market suddenly crashes. Jinsu grabs his head in despair as self-hatred washes over him. Once again, he has managed to throw away everything. He starts wondering whether he really is as stupid as his situation makes him look. Desperate for some way to recover his losses, his attention falls on his wallet. Inside is the credit card Dajong trusted him with for her errands. At first, Jinsu laughs nervously at the ridiculous thought of using it. He knows perfectly well that spending Dajong's money would be practically suicidal. But then he looks back at the tempting green lines on his screen. His common sense disappears. After swallowing nervously, Jinsu gives in to a moment of madness and decides to risk Dajong's money on one final gamble. It immediately becomes a complete disaster. Right after he invests, the cryptocurrency price begins falling dramatically. Jinsu ends up completely broke after losing 10 million won. And the worst part is that the money he lost also included the money Dajong had saved for her college rent. Dajong's reaction is exactly as terrifying as he expects. She grabs Jinsu by the collar and unleashes all of her anger on him. She screams that he must be insane for throwing away her life savings on digital coins. She even tells him that she does not care whether he has to sell one of his own organs to repay her. Dajong towers over him with an absolutely terrifying expression. She demands that Jinsu return every single one he owes her, including interest. Jinsu desperately tries to avoid having the incident exposed to his parents. To keep Dajong from telling them what happened, he is forced into a deal. Dajong will move into his apartment and stay there for free. During moving day, Jinsu becomes her personal worker, carrying all of her belongings into the apartment while exhausting himself in the process. But things become even worse when Jinsu accidentally loses his grip on one of the boxes. It crashes onto the floor with a heavy thud. Then comes the unmistakable sound of something breaking inside. Dajong immediately screams Jinsu's name. He already knows another round of suffering is coming. This entire chain of terrible decisions is also why Jinsu now spends so much of his time working long shifts at a convenience store while attending college. During one shift, his coworker Yeseo lets out a quiet groan as she bends down to pick up a heavy green delivery crate. She struggles to lift it while Jinsu watches from behind, suddenly becoming distracted by the sight. Yesul wonders aloud where all the new supplies came from and says that she needs to put everything away quickly before the store gets crowded. Jinsu immediately steps forward. He tells her to wait and insists that he will handle the heavy lifting himself. Yesul turns toward him with a warm smile. She notices that Jinsu arrived a little earlier than usual for his shift. This is Yoon Yeseol, an older student who works together with Jinsu at the convenience store. Compared with everything else in his miserable life, she is practically the only good thing he has going for him. Jinsu blushes as he takes the heavy crate from her. Inside his head, he cannot help but think that Yeseol is a complete goddess, especially compared to the roommate currently making his life miserable. Yeseol lets out a relieved sigh and thanks him for helping. She explains that an enormous delivery showed up unexpectedly while the boss was away, probably because of some scheduling mistake. She then tells Jinsu that she is happy to have someone dependable like him around. Her words make his heart beat even faster. Jinsu reflects on how amazing she is, becoming distracted by her kindness and charm. However, he reminds himself that the thing he likes most about her is her genuinely caring personality. The two laugh together as they continue carrying the remaining boxes to the back of the store. For once, Jinsu gets to experience a small moment of peace. Back at the apartment, however, the mood is completely different. Dajong is standing over her damaged gym equipment with a deep frown on her face. She carefully examines it, trying to figure out whether her attempt to repair it actually worked. At first glance, the outside appears mostly fine. Even so, Dajong remains annoyed that out of everything Jinsu could possibly have broken while moving her belongings, it had to be this particular piece of equipment. She eventually sighs and stands up from the table. Lately, she has been craving some gym training, especially since she has not found any decent guys at her new school. Then her expression suddenly changes. A triumphant and slightly suspicious smile appears on her face. She becomes convinced that she repaired the equipment well enough for it to work again. With an eager look, Dajong decides that it is finally time for some personal gym training. She settles into position and prepares to see whether her repaired gym equipment will hold up. Unfortunately, her workout attempt ends in another disaster. The fragile plastic suddenly snaps again. Dajong silently stares at the broken pieces. She is furious. Instead of saying anything out loud, she channels that anger into a series of aggressive text messages. Meanwhile, Jinsu is still working at the convenience store. His phone suddenly starts buzzing repeatedly in his pocket. He pulls it out and sees a demanding message from Dajong. She orders him to bring home a vegetable that is specifically ready to cook. Before Jinsu can even understand what she wants, another message arrives. This time, Dajong threatens to break him if the vegetable he brings home turns out to be bad. Yesil notices Jinsu staring at his phone. Playfully, she asks whether he is talking to his girlfriend. Jinsu immediately panics and begins stuttering as he insists that he is completely single. To his surprise, a genuine look of relief appears on Yesil's face. She says that she is glad to hear it. Jinsu is left completely stunned. After saying goodbye, Yesil heads home for the night, leaving Jinsu standing there with one hand raised and a dazed expression. He cannot stop wondering whether the girl he likes just admitted that she was happy to know he was available. That hopeful thought quickly gets buried under another concern. There is absolutely no way Jinsu can let Yesil discover the humiliating truth about his living arrangement. The story then shifts to a welcoming party, where Dajong has gone out hoping to experience some of the excitement she has been missing. She casually drinks her beer while thinking about how she only came because someone invited her. Then she notices a man nearby who seems fairly decent. Dajong decides to give him a chance. She puts on her best smile, approaches him in a striking red dress, and asks whether she can join him for a drink. The man is thrilled to receive attention from such an attractive woman and quickly offers her a seat. As they chat, he brings up a friend who went overseas on a working holiday and jokes about how foolish that person was for making such a decision. Dajong goes along with the conversation and says that she has always wanted to take a trip like that herself. The man becomes even more interested and asks where she would like to go. But the pleasant atmosphere is eventually interrupted by the harsh reality waiting at home. Dajong suddenly kicks open the apartment door with a massive bang. She is still dressed in the red outfit from the party, but she looks nothing like the charming woman from earlier. She is furious. Dajong immediately starts screaming Jinsu's name at the top of her lungs, demanding to know where the vegetables she ordered are. At the same time, she struggles to remove her heels while stomping around in anger. She is still furious over the disgusting man at the party who had the nerve to suggest that she looked like the kind of woman who was into back exercises. Dajong thinks to herself that she would never allow a scumbag like that anywhere near her, even though it was obvious what he was really after. At the same time, Jinsu is elsewhere in the apartment, completely focused on repairing the broken bathroom door with a power drill. Jinsu nervously greets Dajong and explains that he is simply trying to finish repairing the bathroom door he started working on earlier. Dajong has absolutely no interest in making conversation. She immediately asks whether he remembered to buy the vegetable she ordered. Jinsu confirms that he did and proudly explains that he even placed it inside the refrigerator to keep it fresh. Unfortunately, that answer only irritates her further. Now the vegetable is freezing cold. While getting her dress ready, Dajong orders the loser to stop fooling around and get into the bathroom immediately. Jinsu looks confused by the sudden command, but Dajong repeats herself with an angry shout, making her instructions impossible to misunderstand. She tells him to put on his earphones and remain inside the bathroom until she gives him permission to leave. As Dajong grabs the vegetable she plans to cook, Jinsu suddenly understands exactly what she has planned for dinner. Instead of reacting, he simply accepts his miserable fate. She literally kicks him through the doorway and slams the bathroom door behind him, leaving Jinsu trapped inside while she takes care of her cooking. Dajong lets out an irritated sigh as she deals with the chilled vegetable. She cannot help thinking about how much better her evening could have turned out. Her mind goes back to the guy she met at the party, and she wonders whether things would have been different if he had not turned out to be such a jerk. In her imagination, she would probably already be spending time with a proper gym partner. Eventually, Dajong puts those thoughts aside and begins her own strengthening exercises on her own while preparing the vegetable, making weird noises as she tries to salvage what remains of her disappointing night. Meanwhile, Jinsu sits on the closed toilet inside the bathroom. Through the door, he can hear Dajong happily singing. He follows her instructions by putting in his earphones, but he deliberately leaves the music turned off. He wants to be able to start playing something immediately if Dajong suddenly checks on him. For now though, he simply sits there in silence. Jinsu thinks about why Dajong is so comfortable behaving this way around him. The answer seems obvious. She simply does not see him as a big person at all. And this strange dynamic did not start recently. It goes all the way back to their high school years, including an incident at a local karaoke establishment. Back then, a younger Jinsu arrived at the karaoke room completely exhausted, carrying heavy bags filled with supplies for Dajong and her popular friends. After knocking, he enters the room, and Dajong proudly introduces him to the noisy group as her personal servant. His job, she explains, is to bring them drinks and cigarettes. Inside, the atmosphere is wild and suggestive, with several couples behaving inappropriately right in front of him. One of the guys mocks Jinsu by calling him Dajong's errand boy and sarcastically tells him that he should join them for a while. Jinsu politely tries to refuse. Before he can say much, Dajong cuts him off and reminds everyone that he is nothing more than a complete loser. Then she takes the humiliation even further by joking that he probably does not even own any gym gear. The entire room explodes with cruel laughter. Jinsu can do nothing but stand there with an uncomfortable forced smile while trying to hide how embarrassed he feels. He silently absorbs the humiliation as everyone continues making him the center of their jokes. Back in the present, Jinsu remains seated inside the bathroom while the muffled sounds of Dajong's back training continue coming through the door. He thinks once again about how comfortable she feels because she simply does not view him as a big person. For a brief moment, anger rises inside him. Jinsu realizes that he has his own hunger for the gym and briefly considers showing Dajong exactly what happens when he finally loses his temper. But that thought disappears almost instantly when he remembers how hard Dajong can hit. He decides that staying alive and avoiding trouble is much more important than proving a point. Besides, he assumes she will probably finish within 10 minutes anyway. So Jinsu tries to take his mind off the situation by checking his phone. Unfortunately, that does not help. His investments are still falling rapidly, and seeing his financial situation become even worse only fills him with frustration. Another loud gym sound comes from the other side of the door. Jinsu's face turns red. He reluctantly admits to himself that his thoughts are drifting into a rather sus direction. He begins thinking about Yeseul and reminds himself that, just like any other guy his age, he naturally has his own gym needs. At the same time, Dajong is still lost in her own thoughts. She remains annoyed about the jerk she met at the party and imagines what might have happened if that man had not been such a scumbag. While thinking about it, she continues cooking the vegetables and doing her back workout with the equipment Jinsu provided for her. Then, without warning, a sharp snap cuts through the room. Dajong freezes. She looks down in disbelief at the broken piece of the vegetable while she is still cooking. The silence lasts only a moment. Then her fury erupts. Dajong starts screaming Jinsu's name at full volume. She is absolutely furious that he managed to fail at something so simple, especially after she clearly told him to find something lively. She storms across the apartment and kicks the bathroom door open with a deafening bang, fully prepared to punish her roommate for his incompetence. But the confrontation immediately takes a completely unexpected turn. Inside, Da-jong finds Jin-soo sitting on the toilet in a very sus manner, clearly caught doing some wholesome training of his own. The two stare directly at each other. Neither of them says a word. An unbearable silence fills the room as the awkwardness becomes almost impossible to handle. Da-jong stares at him in complete shock and disgust. She calls him a pathetic, big bad loser as the reality of what she just discovered finally sinks in. Da-jong remains frozen. Her mind races as she struggles to process something that completely contradicts the image she has always had of Jin-soo. She can barely believe what she is seeing. In her thoughts, she admits that his gym knowledge feature is surprisingly top-notch and that she has never seen anything like it during all the years she has known him. Jin-soo, meanwhile, is completely panicked. He nervously stammers that she cannot just charge into the bathroom like that while desperately trying to cover himself. Da-jong quickly hides her own confusion. A sudden sus grin appears on her face before she returns to her usual aggressive attitude, using anger to cover up how embarrassed she is. She begins insulting Jin-soo, calling him a disgrace, and demanding to know why he would do something so not so wholesome while she was right in the next room. Jin-soo barely gets a chance to respond. Da-jong suddenly kicks him hard enough to send him flying out of the bathroom and crashing onto the floor of the main living area. She slams the bathroom door shut again and screams at him to go outside and die. Jin-soo remains sprawled on the floor in stunned humiliation. Eventually, he sits against the wall with his head in his hands. He cannot help complaining about how unfair his life is. After all, this is technically his apartment, yet Da-jong acts as though she can do whatever she wants whenever she feels like it. Inside the bathroom, Da-jong is dealing with a crisis of her own. She angrily thinks about how a guy who owes her 10 million won could possibly have the nerve to act like a real man. But what she just witnessed refuses to leave her mind. She struggles to reconcile the image in front of her with the version of Jin-soo she has always viewed as nothing more than a pathetic insect. Da-jong shakes her head hard, trying to force the thoughts away. She reminds herself that this is still the same loser Kim Jin-soo she has always known. She absolutely refuses to let him get the better of her. A week later, the scene moves to the enormous brick buildings of the university campus during a quiet afternoon. Jin-soo is overwhelmed by a schedule consisting of 20 credits, countless lectures, and an endless stream of assignments. The workload has pushed him into a state of constant exhaustion. Every night, he works at the convenience store until midnight. After that, he stays awake into the early morning to finish his schoolwork. Because of this brutal schedule, he has started using lecture time to catch up on the sleep he desperately needs. At the moment, he is completely unconscious at his desk, even drooling on his arm. Then his professor's calm voice suddenly wakes him. The older professor leans over the desk and gently tells him that class has already ended and that he should wake up. Jin-soo instantly jumps to his feet in panic. He hurriedly apologizes to the professor, grabs his backpack, and rushes out of the classroom as quickly as his exhausted body allows. Once outside, he wipes the sweat from his forehead and catches his breath. He realizes that if the professor had not woken him, he would have been late for work. Jin-soo checks his phone. It is already 20 minutes past 6. That means he has no choice but to head directly from campus to the convenience store. While walking there, another thought suddenly crosses his mind. He realizes that it has been an entire week since he last had any gym training. He assumes the main reason is his constant exhaustion. However, he also has to admit that the frightening image of Da-jong breathing fire and forbidding him from doing any training of his own has made him far too scared to attempt it again. Jin-soo quickly sends Da-jong a message explaining his schedule for the evening. He even offers to pick up anything she needs on his way home. He hopes that being useful and staying one step ahead of her demands will help him avoid another disaster. As he walks through a common area on campus, Jin-soo suddenly notices Da-jong. She is surrounded by a group of fashionable friends, laughing and chatting with them. Their eyes meet for only a brief moment, but Da-jong immediately turns away and continues talking as though Jin-soo is a complete stranger. Jin-soo understands exactly why she does it. She is desperately trying to keep her ruthless bullying past hidden from all of her new college friends. He watches the group walk away and thinks about how different their lives have become. The two of them might as well belong to separate worlds. Jin-soo is the lonely outsider who spends every day working. Da-jong, meanwhile, is the popular insider who constantly gets invited to parties and surrounded by friends. The pain of being ignored does not last long. His phone suddenly vibrates. It is a message from Yeseo. She tells him that she is extremely bored at work and asks whether he is coming soon. At the end of the message is a cute crying cat sticker. For Jin-soo, that tiny message feels like another small ray of hope in his otherwise miserable life. He soon arrives at the convenience store with a huge smile. He greets Yeseo, who is happy to see that he has once again arrived early for his shift. The moment she looks closely at him, however, her expression changes slightly. Yeseo notices how exhausted he looks and asks whether he is actually doing all right. Jin-soo laughs and tries to brush off her concern. He tells her it is nothing serious and suggests that the upcoming exam season is probably responsible for his exhaustion. Yeseo lets out a sigh. She explains that she will have to deal with the same pressure when she eventually returns to school. She is not sure she can handle it though, and admits that part of her wishes she could simply continue taking a break. Jinsu tries to cheer her up. He tells Yeseo that he is confident she will do well with her studies because she is already hardworking and capable at the convenience store. Yesul suddenly leans closer with a serious look and asks whether he is implying that working well at a convenience store is the only thing she is good at. Jinsu immediately panics. He desperately tries to explain that this was not what he meant at all. Then Yeseul bursts out laughing. She reveals that she was only teasing him. As she waves goodbye and reminds him to take care of himself, Jinsu feels another burst of optimism. For the first time in a while, he begins to believe that maybe things could actually work out between him and Yeseo despite all the chaos surrounding his life. After finishing his shift, Jinsu walks home through the night feeling surprisingly confident. In his hands are the fresh vegetables he bought for Dajong. Before entering the apartment, he tests one of them with a firm flick of his finger. The sound it makes satisfies him enough to believe that he finally picked one that will be perfect for curry. Eventually, Jinsu reaches the apartment and announces that he is home. He carefully prepares himself for whatever kind of reaction awaits him. With a hopeful smile, he holds out the new vegetables. That smile disappears almost instantly. Dajong suddenly pulls out a long strip of green tape with a sharp snapping sound. Jinsu stares at her in confusion and fear as she stands over him wearing a dark, satisfied grin. He quickly realizes that his attempt to make up for his previous mistake by buying new vegetables has come far too late. Dajong's thoughts return to the previous day. She had honestly believed that she had finally found a decent trainer who could solve her ongoing gym problems. The new guy was handsome, polite, and far better than the unpleasant man she had met at the bar. She even felt certain that he came from a respectable family. The two of them went to a theme gym together, and Dajong was genuinely relieved at the thought that she could finally stop handling her back training by herself. Unfortunately, the evening became a huge disappointment. Despite being tall, the guy turned out to be incredibly weak with back workouts and left the moment his PT session was finished. Dajong was left sitting there completely unsatisfied and frustrated after waiting an entire week for some real excitement. Her thoughts once again drift toward the shocking moment in the bathroom when she discovered Jinsu's unexpected gym secret. At first, Dajong tries convincing herself that she must be losing her mind for even considering someone like him. She shakes her head, trying to force the thought away. Jinsu is nothing more than her pathetic servant, and that should be the end of it. But the memory refuses to disappear. Eventually, Dajong begins mentally going through every option. Her gym equipment is already destroyed. The vegetables she had tried using for cooking are also ruined. That leaves only one obvious possibility: Jinsu. She convinces herself that it does not have to mean anything serious. She can simply use what is already available to her. In her mind, she decides to treat Jinsu like a living gym tool. Back in the present, Jinsu finds himself tied up and completely terrified inside his own apartment, looking more like a hostage than a roommate. Dajong stands over him with a cold expression. She warns him not to move at all unless he wants to get beaten again. She climbs onto the bed and tells him to pay close attention because she does not want him misunderstanding what their relationship actually is. As she moves closer, she reminds him that he still has not replaced the gym equipment he broke. On top of that, he failed at something as basic as buying suitable vegetables for her cooking. With a determined and slightly sussy expression, Dajong pulls out a packet of curry seasoning. She prepares to get exactly what she wants from the young man who already owes her so much. The two then train back together while food is being prepared at the same time. The next morning, bright sunlight shines over the apartment complex as the 8 o'clock alarm begins vibrating against the nightstand. Jinsu slowly reaches out and taps the phone screen, silencing the alarm. He sits up with a heavy sigh, his face covered in sweat. As his memories return, he thinks back to the chaotic gym events from the previous day. He tells himself that if everything that happened had merely been a dream, it would easily qualify as the worst nightmare of his entire life. He nervously looks over his shoulder toward the other side of the bed. There lies the person who proves that none of it was a dream. Dajong is sleeping peacefully. Jinsu reflects on how he normally experiences a deep sense of regret after taking care of his own private business. But knowing that he just spent the entire night in an wholesome gym sesh with his personal bully, making the situation almost impossible to process, he covers his face with both hands and groans toward the ceiling. The embarrassment is so overwhelming that he starts thinking he would rather throw himself into the ocean than continue remembering what happened. He even wonders exactly how many times Dajong made him repeat those exercises. At the same time, he finds himself desperately missing Yeseo's kindness. Despite all of this emotional chaos, Jinsu reminds himself that he cannot afford to waste time feeling miserable. His exhausting daily routine is still waiting. He quietly puts on his backpack and leaves the apartment while Dajong continues sleeping. Once he arrives on campus, he feels completely drained. Jinsu tells himself that his exhaustion comes from having absolutely no escape from his responsibilities. no matter how strange his home life has become. He tries to convince himself that the best way to wake up from a nightmare is simply to continue living normally. That means attending long lectures and eating meals alone in the university cafeteria. Unfortunately, his day becomes even more stressful when he receives a phone call informing him about a mandatory group project meeting scheduled for the weekend. Jin-soo can only mutter about how unbelievably unlucky he is. Looking for somewhere quiet, he heads to a nearby PC cafe so he can check on his investments. That decision does nothing to improve his mood. The market charts are crashing again, forcing him to let out another defeated sigh. After checking the time, Jin-soo realizes that he needs to return home. He eventually stands outside his apartment door, staring at it with a mixture of hesitation and dread. Finally, gathering enough courage, he opens the door. He nervously announces that he is home and scans the room. Dajong is lying comfortably on the bed with her laptop and a bag of snacks. She looks completely calm, as if nothing unusual has happened between them. Without much reaction, she casually acknowledges his arrival. Jin-soo stands there in confusion. He wonders whether that is seriously all she has to say. He begins questioning whether yesterday meant anything to her at all. Dajong continues eating her snacks before suddenly looking toward him. She says she is extremely hungry. After stretching her arms above her head, she orders Jin-soo to immediately go into the kitchen and make her some ramen. Jin-soo gets to work without arguing. He prepares a hot bowl of noodles and adds a perfectly cooked egg before bringing the meal to Dajong. She barely looks away from her laptop while eating. Dajong happily slurps down the ramen, clearly satisfied. When she finishes, she lets out a huge yawn and announces that she is ready to sleep. She orders Jin-soo to turn off the lights. Then she gives him a sharp warning. If he wakes her up, she will absolutely kill him. She also tells him that if he plans on using his phone, he must keep a blanket over his head. According to Dajong, she is an extremely light sleeper and cannot tolerate even the smallest distraction. Jin-soo simply stares at her. Dajong settles down and immediately starts snoring loudly. Drool even begins leaking from her mouth. Jin-soo watches her for a moment. He quickly realizes that her claim about being a light sleeper is complete nonsense. But his annoyance does not last. His face suddenly turns red. The sight of her causes his thoughts to become unexpectedly sussy. He immediately starts slapping his own face to force himself to snap out of it. Jin-soo wonders why he is reacting this way towards someone who spends most of her time bullying him. He decides the safest thing to do is get some fresh air. He carefully walks toward the door and quietly slips outside, leaving Dajong behind in her loud, peaceful sleep. Jin-soo walks along the sidewalk while tapping his chin thoughtfully. He starts wondering whether he might actually be the strange one in this situation. He remembers Dajong's blushing face from the previous night and suspects that she plans to act as though their gym session never happened. Eventually, Jin-soo clenches his fist with determination. He tells himself that what happened was nothing. He needs to stop thinking about it and focus on his own life. He soon reaches the convenience store. There, he notices Yeseul carrying a large black trash bag. She turns around and looks genuinely surprised. She asks why Jin-soo has arrived so early for his shift. Jin-soo stands there somewhat dazed. He checks his watch and realizes that after leaving the apartment, he had simply wandered around without any real destination. He gives her a nervous explanation. Yeseul points out that Jin-soo actually lives quite far away and wonders why he would travel all this distance merely to buy something. Jin-soo laughs awkwardly and insists that the distance is not really that far. However, the blush on his face makes it obvious that he is embarrassed. A customer approaches. Yeseul greets them with a polite bow and a warm smile. Jin-soo watches her with admiration. He thinks about how cute and wholesome she is, and becomes more convinced that she is the only person in his life he can genuinely rely on for kindness. Then his stomach suddenly growls loudly. The sound reminds him that he still has not eaten a proper meal. Jin-soo walks through the brightly illuminated aisles, looking over the various drinks and snacks. He decides that he should find something to eat before starting work. Yeseul notices what he is doing. She approaches with a helpful smile and asks whether he is looking for something good to eat. She picks up a newly released product called a pasta cup. She recommends that Jin-soo try it, explaining that it tastes good and that there is also a special prize promotion connected to it. Jin-soo takes the cup and agrees to buy one. Yeseul raises her arm enthusiastically as she scans the product. She gives him a cheerful wave and tells him to enjoy his food. Jin-soo settles down with a huge grin. Inside his head, he jokes that maybe he should start eating at the convenience store every day if it means he gets to see Yeseul smile like that. Before eating, Jin-soo examines the prize information printed on the pasta cup lid. A list of prizes is displayed. He notices that third place offers an ordinary gift certificate. Second place is a high-end monitor. But then his eyes widen. The grand prize catches his full attention. The first place winner receives a brand new car valued at least 20 million won. A sudden surge of hope runs through Jin-soo. He realizes that winning that car could completely solve his financial problems. If he managed to claim first place, he could repay every cent he owes Dajong. And, more importantly, he could finally get her out of his apartment for good. Filled with desperation and excitement, Jinsu tells himself that he has absolutely nothing to lose. He decides to scan the QR code. A digital wheel of fortune appears on his phone screen. Jinsu watches it spin while holding his breath. The wheel eventually stops. The result appears. He has won 2 movie tickets. Jinsu's expression immediately drops into mild disappointment. He thinks about how he does not even have friends he could take to the cinema, making the prize feel almost pointless. Yesul leans over and smiles brightly when she sees his result. She congratulates him and tells him that he is still lucky to have won something. Then a sudden idea appears in Jinsu's mind. He realizes this could be the opportunity he has been waiting for. Jinsu tells Yesel that he only won because she recommended the pasta cup. Then he asks whether she would like to take the tickets instead. Yesul points out that the prize actually includes 2 tickets. She looks at Jinsu and asks whether he would rather go see the movie with her this weekend. The sound of a hairdryer fills the apartment as Dajong gets ready for the day in her room, looking as intimidating as ever. The moment she notices Jinsu, she calls him a loser and asks whether he actually has somewhere important to be. Jinsu sits on the floor, nervously fidgeting as he tries to stay calm. He tells her that he has a group project meeting coming up. Dajong immediately scoffs at the explanation. She announces that she is heading out too because she refuses to spend the entire weekend sitting around at home like a loser. Then she notices Jinsu working on his hair. She becomes suspicious and asks why he is putting so much effort into his appearance. She even wonders whether there might be a girl in his project group. Jinsu laughs nervously to hide his panic and quickly insists that he is only trying to look presentable out of politeness. Dajong calls him an idiot. She clicks her heels and walks straight out of the apartment. Jinsu suddenly realizes that he is running out of time. He immediately begins rushing through his preparations. Saturday morning turns into a frantic grooming session as Jinsu does everything he can to make himself look as sharp as possible. After fixing his hair perfectly, he looks at himself in the mirror and gives a confident thumbs up. He then rushes toward the cinema as fast as he can. By the time he arrives, he is completely exhausted, gasping for breath and covered in sweat. He immediately apologizes to Yesul for being late, worried that he may have already ruined the mood before their movie date even begins. Yesil simply smiles and waves off his apology. She tells him that everything is fine because the movie has not even started yet. Looking at his sweaty face, she asks whether he actually ran all the way there. She points out that he must be extremely hot after running so hard. Jinsu tries to act casual, though privately he regrets wasting so much time washing his hair for a second time. Yesul tells him they should head inside so they can at least catch the commercials before the main movie begins. As Jinsu looks at her, he notices that she clearly put a lot of effort into her appearance. She looks stunning in a stylish black skirt. Jinsu's heart skips a beat. He starts wondering whether the effort she put into getting dressed means he might actually have a chance with her. For a moment, he becomes distracted by how good she looks and feels more hopeful about his future than he has in a long time. Yeseol urges him to hurry so they do not miss any more of the movie. Jinsu eagerly nods and follows her. As they make their way down the dark hallway, Yeseol accidentally bumps her hand against Jinsu's big face. A sudden jolt shoots through him, making his eyes widen in shock. Yeseol is horrified by the accidental contact. She quickly apologizes and asks whether he is okay. Jinsu puts on a brave expression and tells her that he is completely fine and barely felt anything. Inside, however, his thoughts are much more complicated. He remembers a much worse incident from his past when Dajong physically bullied him in front of her laughing friends. Compared to the treatment he has already survived from Dajong, Jinsu concludes that a small accidental bump from someone as kind as Yesul is nothing. The two eventually find their seats. They sit down with synchronized sighs of relief as the movie finally begins. Jinsu steals a quick glance at Yeseol. He regrets arriving late because he wishes he had more time to spend with her before the movie started. Still, he pushes the thought aside and forces himself to concentrate on the screen. He becomes completely absorbed in the dramatic and sussy scenes playing out in front of him. Then, without warning, a persistent vibration comes from his pocket. At first, Jinsu is annoyed. He thinks about how rude it is for someone to leave their phone turned on inside a theater. Then his irritation instantly changes into panic. He realizes the person disturbing everyone is actually him. Jinsu quietly apologizes to the people around him, slips out of the row, and heads toward the empty lobby. As he walks away, he wonders who could possibly be calling someone as lonely as him. Then his stomach drops. Dajong's name is flashing across his phone screen. His face goes pale. Reluctantly, Jinsu answers. The response is immediate. Dajong begins insulting him and demands to know exactly where he is. She makes it clear that she has no intention of waiting around for him. Jinsu sticks to his lie about the group project and claims that he is near a specific intersection. But his heart sinks when Dajong reveals that she is actually close by at the subway station. With an annoyingly confident tone, She orders him to meet her immediately at exit 3. She has decided that she wants to train back with him right now. Jinsu desperately tries to negotiate. He begs her to give him at least a couple of hours so he can finish what he is doing. Dajong responds by exploding in anger. She reminds him that, until his enormous debt is completely repaid, he has absolutely no rights as a loser. Then she gives him one final ultimatum. He has exactly 5 minutes to get there. Otherwise, she will carry out her threats. Jinsu stands helplessly in the lobby. His perfect afternoon with Yeseol has suddenly transformed into an absolute nightmare. 2 hours earlier, Dajong had been sitting inside a crowded cafe. The room is filled with conversation, background noise, and the constant clinking of coffee cups. She sits at a small table wearing a stylish white top. Eventually, her friends arrive and call out her name. Dajong casually waves them over and asks how they have been. Her unusually polite tone immediately makes the other girls start teasing her. They laugh and tell her to stop pretending to be so refined. One of them points out that she no longer sounds anything like the ruthless bully they used to know. Another friend wonders aloud whether Dajong is simply trying to behave like a normal person now that she has entered university life. The comment only makes everyone laugh harder. Their high-pitched laughter becomes so loud that even the cafe employees notice. The staff exchange tired looks while silently acknowledging how noisy some customers can be. One of Dajong's friends leans closer and asks whether she is actually seeing anyone these days. She points toward Dajong's elegant necklace and jokingly asks whether some guy gave it to her while trying to ask her out. Dajong looks down at the melting ice cubes in her nearly empty glass. After hesitating, she says that she is not really seeing anyone special. Her friends immediately reject the answer. They jokingly call her a player and insist that she must secretly have someone hidden away somewhere. Dajong quickly covers her confusion with a confident grin. She claims that she has plenty of guys available whenever she wants one. The conversation then moves towards stories involving other partners and their strange requests. Dajong struggles to stay focused on what everyone is saying. A deep blush slowly spreads across her face. She begins wondering what exactly has been happening to her lately. When she thinks about the previous week, she remembers that she had actually been with 3 different so-called expert men for gym, each one represented by a different letter in her mental list. With all that variety, she should theoretically be satisfied with her active gym life. Yet she cannot escape one frustrating thought. She keeps remembering her recent gym session with that loser, Kim Jin-soo. Dajong sits with her arms crossed, realizing that talking to her friends has only reminded her of how frustrated she currently feels. She closes her eyes and admits to herself that she has not truly enjoyed training back ever since that specific day with her roommate. She thinks back to her recent experiences with the other men and wonders why none of those trainers have been even remotely comparable to Jin-soo. All the mediocre sessions have only made her more restless. She realizes that her gym needs is still completely unsatisfied. Dajong eventually becomes startled by her own thoughts. She tells her friends that she has to leave immediately. She stands up, gathers her belongings, and announces that she has an important appointment. Her friends become curious and ask who she is meeting. Dajong gives them a sussy smile. She simply confirms that the appointment is indeed something very special. Meanwhile, water pours inside a bathroom as Jin-soo stands beneath the shower with an expression of complete misery. He lets out a tired sigh. He cannot understand why he is even here when he should be sitting inside a dark theater beside Yeseol. He looks toward the tiled wall and reflects bitterly on his situation. Instead of enjoying his afternoon with the girl he likes, he has ended up showering in a place because Dajong ordered him to. Then Dajong's sharp voice suddenly cuts through the sound of the water. She calls Jin-soo's name impatiently. He nervously answers. From outside the bathroom, Dajong complains that she cannot even hear him washing properly. She warns him with an intimidating expression that he had better clean every part of himself. If he smells bad, she promises that she will kill him. Jin-soo immediately starts scrubbing his hair and body more aggressively. As he washes, he reflects on how there is simply no choice but to obey his personal bully. He knows that his entire life could be destroyed if Dajong ever decided to reveal his secrets. Yet even with all of that hanging over him, his thoughts continue returning to Yeseol. He cannot stop wondering what he is supposed to tell her after all of this. Eventually, Jin-soo opens the bathroom door and steps out while still dripping wet. He nervously announces that he is finally finished. Dajong is sitting comfortably in a plush chair. She looks him up and down with a suspicious expression and asks whether he is genuinely certain that he cleaned himself properly. Before Jin-soo can even process what she is asking, she tells him to give her his hand. Jin-soo looks completely confused. He asks whether she really wants him to hand it over. Still uneasy, he eventually obeys and raises his hands toward her with a look of pure dread. The quiet room is suddenly interrupted by a sharp clicking sound. Then the two begin another back workout. Elsewhere, a smartphone sits on a marble desk, vibrating urgently. The screen lights up with a message from Yeseol asking Jin-soo where he has gone. The intensity of an ongoing PT lesson fills the background. Jin-soo stands frozen in the middle of it all, completely panicked. He looks down toward Dajong, who remains focused on her training. At that moment, he realizes that Yeseul must be wondering why he suddenly disappeared during their movie outing. Sweat covers Jinsu's face as he desperately tries to figure out what explanation he could possibly give her. He imagines Yeseul sitting alone inside the dark theater. The thought terrifies him. He worries that disappearing without any explanation may have already destroyed whatever chance he had with the girl he dreams about. Then he remembers how incredible Yeseul looked in her stylish outfit. That memory gives him determination. No matter how humiliating his current situation is, Jinsu decides that he cannot simply give up on her. Filled with both desperation and hope, Jinsu cautiously reaches for his phone. He nervously asks his gym partner whether he can use it for a moment while their routine continues, forcing a worried smile onto his face. Dajong looks back at him, flushed and exhausted from the workout. She gives him a sharp signal that he can go ahead while insulting him as a big bad loser. The moment Jinsu checks his screen, he sees that Yeseul has become increasingly concerned. She asks why he disappeared so suddenly and practically begs him to explain what happened. A wave of panic immediately hits Jinsu. He knows how suspicious his disappearance must look and starts wondering whether Yeseul is secretly furious with him on the other side of the conversation. He keeps the phone in his hand while the workout continues around him, leaving him feeling trapped between an absolute nightmare and the opportunity of a lifetime. Jinsu swallows nervously and desperately searches for some explanation that could save him. Eventually, he decides that lying is his only option. To make the story more convincing, he pretends to cough badly before typing a message. He tells Yeseul that he suddenly became extremely sick and that his condition became so serious that he had no choice but to rush home. After sending the message, Jinsu waits in agonizing silence. He has no idea whether she will believe his excuse or whether he has completely destroyed his chances. The room remains quiet apart from the repeated sounds of their ongoing gym routine. Then his phone lights up. A reply has arrived. Jinsu is stunned by what he reads. Yeseul is not angry. Instead, she admits that his sudden disappearance scared her and explains that she was only worried about whether he was okay. In his imagination, Jinsu pictures the genuine concern on her face as she asks how badly he is hurting and whether he is truly all right. Relief and guilt wash over him at the same time. Yeseul is not upset with him, which only makes Jinsu feel even more determined to keep their connection alive while he remains stuck dealing with his current obligations. His thumbs quickly move across the screen. He continues the act by telling Yeseul that he believes he has a fever and that his condition is actually pretty serious. After sending the message, Jinsu stares at his phone anxiously. Doubt begins creeping into his mind. He wonders whether he had simply imagined the connection between them or whether this is the moment when everything finally falls apart. Meanwhile, Yeseul reads his message with a sympathetic expression. She thinks his situation sounds terrible. She assumes he must genuinely be sick and starts worrying about whether he is safe at home. She also wonders whether he has taken any medicine yet. Jinsu feels an overwhelming amount of gratitude. Inside his head, he calls her a complete angel. He still wonders whether she is truly going to believe his story, but her naturally kind personality gives him confidence that she might. Out on the street, Yeseul types another message with determination. She tells Jinsu that she feels awful imagining him being alone while he is sick. Then she asks whether she can come over and check on him at his home. Jinsu's face instantly becomes hot. The sudden offer completely catches him off guard. He tells himself that he only needs to finish what he is currently doing as quickly as possible so he can properly respond. Eventually, the gym sesh comes to an end. Dajong collapses onto the bed, completely exhausted. She acknowledges that Jinsu did a good job today. Then she casually announces that she plans to sleep right where she is. She dismisses Jinsu and tells him that he is free to leave. Jinsu nervously stammers out an agreement, realizing that he has finally been released. Dajong immediately falls into a deep sleep with a satisfied sigh. Jinsu watches her and gives a triumphant smile. At last, his responsibilities for the day are finished. Now he decides that it is time to prepare himself for his upcoming visitor. He rushes into the bathroom and turns the shower temperature all the way down. Standing beneath the freezing water, Jinsu crosses his arms and begins shivering violently. Still, he convinces himself that making himself look sick will be incredibly easy. While shaking from the cold, he even sends Yeseul his exact address. As he does so, Jinsu reflects on how quickly everything seems to be progressing between them. He knows there is no way he can afford to waste such an incredible opportunity. Yeseul soon sends back a cheerful message confirming that she will come to visit him the next afternoon at around 3. Jinsu is practically vibrating with excitement. The girl he has dreamed about is actually coming to his apartment. The following day arrives. Yeseul stands on a quiet street corner while holding her bag. She looks at her phone and then scans the nearby buildings, wondering whether she has actually come to the right location. She continues looking around the peaceful neighborhood while checking the address on her phone. Yeseul studies the apartment buildings carefully, trying to figure out which one matches the location Jinsu sent her. The story briefly returns to Jinsu's thoughts during his previous session. While standing beneath the freezing shower, He had realized that the girl he liked was actually coming to his apartment. He could hardly believe how absurd his situation had become. He was essentially living with his own personal bully while also becoming her partner for training back at the gym. At the same time, the weight of his 10 million won debt remained firmly on his mind. He knew that everything would be completely over if Yeseol ever discovered the truth. Jinsu had sent her another message while wondering whether he had completely lost his mind or whether his strange confidence was simply a side effect of everything that had been happening lately. Back in the present, sunlight fills the apartment as Dajong continues sleeping peacefully in the bed. Jinsu watches her carefully, filled with anticipation. He tells himself that she will probably leave soon, allowing him enough time to prepare everything before his guest arrives. The wall clock continues ticking. Eventually, Dajong wakes up. She gives an enormous yawn followed by an exaggerated stretch that shows off her athletic build. Without saying much, she gives Jinsu a cold look before heading into the kitchen to begin preparing for her day. Afterward, Dajong changes into a stylish black top and tight jeans, clearly preparing to go out for the afternoon. Jinsu sits on the edge of the bed and nervously fidgets. Dajong notices his behavior and compares him to a dog that needs to be taken outside for a walk. Jinsu gives her a weak, nervous smile and insists that nothing is wrong. Dajong immediately tells him that she does not care about him anyway. She slams the door shut after delivering one final insult. Jinsu is left standing in total silence. Finally, he realizes that he is completely alone. He immediately springs into action. There is not a second to waste if he wants the apartment cleaned before Yeseol arrives. His first priority is removing every possible sign that another person lives there. He quickly grabs Dajong's toothbrush along with all of her beauty products and hides them away. Then he rushes to the closet. He stuffs her fashionable dresses out of sight. But then he notices something that nearly makes his heart stop. A black sussy cloth is sitting there. Jinsu freezes for a moment. His mind suddenly imagines Dajong wearing it, and he becomes briefly distracted by the thought. He violently shakes his head to force those ideas away. Without wasting another second, he throws the items into a large black trash bag. He drags the bag across the floor and hides it inside a kitchen cupboard, planning to leave it there until Yeseol goes home. Once the apartment finally looks presentable, Jinsu turns his attention toward himself. He remembers telling Yeseol that he was sick. To make the lie believable, he decides that lowering his body temperature again will help. He steps beneath another freezing shower. The icy water pours over him while he stands there with absolute determination. When he finally gets out, he is genuinely shivering. Jinsu puts on a long-sleeved shirt and continues trembling from the cold. He begins wondering whether he may have taken his plan a little too far just to maintain a lie. Then he looks at the clock. It is finally 3 o'clock. His guest should be arriving at any moment. Jinsu puts a surgical mask over his ears. He practices several dry coughs, trying to make his performance as convincing as possible. A rhythmic knock suddenly comes from the front door. He checks the monitor. Yeseol is standing outside with a warm and expectant smile. Jinsu opens the door and greets her. He does his best to maintain his sick appearance while standing in front of the girl he likes. Yeseol looks at him with obvious concern. She asks how he is feeling today. Jinsu gives a weak laugh and forces out a few more coughs. He explains that he feels slightly better than he did the previous day. He steps aside and lets her into the apartment, inviting her to sit in the small wooden chair. Yeseol looks around. She notices that the apartment is surprisingly clean for a college student supposedly living by himself. Jinsu starts blushing with pride and rubs the back of his neck. Then his eyes suddenly land on something horrifying. A single long strand of hair is lying on his beige bedsheet. Jinsu realizes with horror that he missed an important piece of evidence left behind by Dajong. He silently gasps. He quickly decides that the only way to hide the hair is to pretend that his illness has suddenly become overwhelming. He throws himself onto the bed, deliberately covering the exact spot where the hair is. Yeseol is startled by his sudden collapse. She immediately asks whether he is feeling dizzy or whether he needs to see a doctor. Jinsu assures her that he is fine. He claims that he simply needs to rest his head on the pillow for a moment. Yeseol leans closer to inspect him. She asks whether she can check his forehead to see whether he actually has a fever. Jinsu becomes distracted by how close she suddenly is. His eyes widen as Yeseol gently places her hand against his forehead. She notices that his skin feels quite warm. Then she asks whether he has taken any medicine yet. The warmth of her touch feels strangely nostalgic to Jinsu. He finds himself absorbed in her kindness while desperately trying to stop his heart from racing. He admits that he has not even eaten lunch. Yeseol gently scolds him for ignoring his health while supposedly being sick. Then she leans back with a playful expression. She asks whether he would like to eat something together, perhaps a bowl of ramen. Jinsu's mind immediately jumps to the sussy implications of that particular invitation. For a brief moment, he wonders whether he has completely misunderstood the situation between them. Yeseol notices the panic on his face and laughs. She quickly clarifies that she was only joking and would never actually give ramen to someone who was sick. Instead, she decides that she will make him some healthy porridge. She asks whether he has any rice stored in the kitchen cabinets. Yeseol stands up and walks toward the cooking area. As she moves, she stretches her arms and wonders aloud what ingredients she can find. Jinsu watches her from the bed. He continues thinking about her unexpected joke while struggling to believe that he is actually alone in his apartment with the girl of his dreams. The scene then shifts to a crowded cafe. Dajong sits among the constant noise and chatter of her social circle. She looks completely uninterested in what everyone is talking about. A bored sigh escapes her as she begins wondering whether she should simply abandon the gathering and return home early. Back at the apartment, a bright orange pot sits on the stove. The porridge inside bubbles gently while its savory aroma spreads throughout the small room. Jinsu lies on the bed watching Yesul cook. He still finds it hard to believe that the girl he likes is actually standing in his kitchen preparing food specifically for him. Yesil hums a cheerful little tune while working. After a while, she walks over to the refrigerator and checks for additional ingredients that might improve the meal. As she leans into the refrigerator, Jinsu cannot help noticing her figure. The sight makes him feel unexpectedly strange. He reflects on how much he enjoys being cared for like this, even though he knows his illness is largely an elaborate lie designed to spend more time with her. His thoughts begin drifting toward the future. He imagines what their lives might look like if they eventually went out together. For the first time in a long while, Jinsu feels genuinely hopeful. Yesul eventually finds the ingredients she needs. She turns off the stove and carefully fills a small white bowl with a generous serving of steaming porridge. She announces that the meal is ready. Then she walks toward Jinsu with an incredibly kind expression. From Jinsu's perspective, she looks like an angel. Her gentle smile makes the entire room feel brighter. Jinsu becomes nervous and excited when she sits beside him on the edge of the bed. He softly thanks her and pulls his mask down to his chin. Once again, his cheeks begin turning red. Yesul tells him that she sincerely hopes he enjoys the meal. Then she lifts a spoonful of porridge toward his mouth. She carefully blows on it to cool it down. With a playful expression, she asks him to open his mouth and try it. Jinsu is completely stunned by the sussy gesture. He wonders whether Yesul is acting this warmly because she thinks he is sick, or whether there might actually be something more behind her behavior. The peaceful moment is suddenly interrupted. A smartphone resting on the bedsheet begins buzzing insistently. Jinsu's eyes widen in dread. He wonders who could possibly be calling him at the worst possible moment and why the universe seems determined to ruin everything. He quickly apologizes to Yesul and tells her that he really needs to answer. Yesul gives him an understanding nod and tells him to go ahead. Jinsu raises the phone to his ear with a trembling hand. He nervously says hello. Then he hears the voice on the other end. He immediately flinches. Within seconds, every trace of color disappears from his face. Yesul notices the sudden change and starts wondering why he looks so pale and frightened. Then she catches the faint sound of a woman's voice coming through the phone. Now she begins questioning whether everything is actually okay with her coworker. Inside, Jinsu is completely panicking. His mind races desperately as he begs himself to come up with a believable explanation before his perfect afternoon is completely destroyed. Suddenly, Jinsu jumps off the bed and rushes across the apartment in a blur of movement. Yesil is left sitting there with the bowl of porridge in her hands and an utterly bewildered expression on her face. Jinsu reaches the front door and presses himself against the wall while checking the security monitor. His eyes immediately widened. His worst possible nightmare is walking down the hallway. The familiar click of Dajong's heels gets louder with every step, and Jinsu swallows nervously as he realizes the disaster that is about to unfold. He quickly turns back toward the room and frantically apologizes to Yesil. She simply stares at him, confused and unsure what he could possibly mean. Before she has time to ask, Jinsu grabs her wrist and urgently tells her that they need to hide immediately. He starts pulling her across the room while desperately searching for somewhere they can disappear. Then his eyes fall on Yesil's blue shoes sitting beside the front door. His heart nearly stops. They are an obvious sign that somebody else is inside. There is no longer enough time to do anything about the steaming bowl of porridge, so Jinsu focuses on the evidence he can still hide. He quickly grabs Yesil's shoes. He tells her to leave the rest of her belongings on the table and pulls her toward the large wardrobe. Jinsu throws the wardrobe doors open with a sharp rush of air. At that exact moment, the apartment's keypad begins beeping. Jinsu quickly pulls Yesil inside the cramped wardrobe and shuts the doors. The front door opens. Dajong steps into the apartment and locks it behind her before looking around the quiet room. Inside the wardrobe, things are far more tense. Jinsu and Yeseul are forced to stand extremely close together inside the tiny space. Dajong remains in the middle of the room and sighs irritably. She wonders aloud where that lazy loser could possibly have gone. Inside the wardrobe, Yeseul reacts to the awkward closeness with a quiet sound of surprise. Her cheeks immediately turn red in the darkness. She quickly covers her mouth to prevent herself from making any more noise, her eyes wide with confusion. Jinsu is frozen with fear. He knows that if Dajong discovers them together, he is completely finished. At first, Yeseul appears relatively calm, but as she processes just how ridiculous their hiding place is, her expression becomes more serious. She gestures for Jinsu to come closer. Then she whispers directly into his ear, demanding to know what is actually happening. She warns him that she may start screaming if he does not explain everything immediately. Jinsu's mind goes into overdrive. He desperately searches for some explanation that could possibly make sense. Finally, he leans closer and whispers a complicated lie. He claims that the woman currently walking around the apartment is actually his cousin and that she is temporarily staying with him. Jinsu continues by explaining that his parents are extremely old-fashioned and would force him to move out if they ever discovered that he had another woman staying at his place. The moment he finishes speaking, even Jinsu realizes how ridiculous the story sounds. Inside his head, he wonders what on earth he is saying to the girl he likes. He also recognizes the obvious flaw in his excuse. There is no traditional family that would send their daughter to stay alone in an apartment with a man. Jinsu starts mentally falling apart because his own lie makes absolutely no sense. He nervously waits for Yeseol's reaction, silently praying that she will somehow accept the explanation. Instead, he is caught completely off guard when Yeseol smiles. She comments on how large it actually is. Jinsu is stunned by the sussy wording, but Yeseol quickly clarifies with a playful gesture that she is talking about the size of the room they are currently hiding in. She gives him a warm, reassuring look and promises that she will remain quiet for now. To Jinsu, she seems like an actual angel. He cannot believe someone this kind could possibly be interested in a loser like him. Meanwhile, Dajong notices the steaming bowl of porridge sitting on the table. She walks over and examines it. She remembers ordering her servant to prepare a proper meal and becomes annoyed when she sees that he made porridge instead. Dajong picks up the spoon and takes a large bite. Her expression immediately turns disgusted. She complains about how bland and tasteless it is. Inside the wardrobe, Jinsu becomes furious. He cannot believe Dajong has the nerve to criticize Yeseol's cooking when she probably could not even boil water properly herself. Dajong tries calling Jinsu on her phone, but his device is completely switched off. That is thanks to the precaution Jinsu took before hiding inside the wardrobe. Dajong lets out an irritated huff. Since she cannot reach him, she decides to order food instead. She settles onto the bed with a heavy thump, clearly showing that she plans to stay there for a while. She begins scrolling through her phone. Meanwhile, the situation inside the wardrobe becomes increasingly uncomfortable. Jinsu realizes just how close he and Yeseol are standing in the darkness. He can only blush silently as the seconds continue passing. Dajong lies on the bed, completely absorbed in her laptop. A popular mukbang video is playing. She watches with amusement as the person on screen struggles with extremely spicy food. The man's dramatic reaction makes her laugh as he gasps over his burning tongue. While Dajong enjoys the video, Jinsu remains trapped in the cramped wardrobe. He starts wondering how much longer they are supposed to stay hidden. Part of him fears they might remain there until nightfall. Suddenly, the peaceful apartment is interrupted by the sound of the doorbell. Ding dong. Dajong immediately looks toward the door. She realizes that her delivery has arrived. With an eager sigh, she rushes toward the entrance and opens the door. The delivery driver hands her a white plastic bag. Dajong politely thanks him before carrying the food back inside. Her eyes light up when she sees the box of golden brown fried chicken. She excitedly claps her hands and tells herself that chicken is something you simply cannot go wrong with. Then she remembers that she plans to make her servant pay for the meal later. Inside the wardrobe, Jinsu is silently furious. He cannot believe what is happening. Dajong specifically ordered him to cook dinner, only to ignore that completely and order fried chicken while still expecting him to cover the cost. Dajong returns to the bed and happily begins eating. She continues watching videos on her laptop while enjoying the meal. Eventually, she finishes everything. A large, satisfied yawn escapes her mouth. She stretches her arms high above her head and checks her phone one final time. The wall clock continues ticking. Eventually, exhaustion catches up with her. Dajong falls into a deep sleep. Her mouth hangs open as a messy trail of drool escapes, and soon she is snoring steadily without a care in the world. Inside the wardrobe, Jinsu carefully looks through the narrow gap between the doors. His eyes widen. Dajong is finally asleep. Very slowly, he pushes the wardrobe door open. A faint creak echoes through the room. Jinsu quietly steps outside. Yeseol follows closely behind him. He looks over at the sleeping Dajong and forces a smile onto his face. But internally, he is anything but calm. Being trapped in that position for several hours has taken a serious toll on his body. Jinsu clenches his teeth as discomfort runs through him. He admits to himself that he is hurting badly. He tries walking around to loosen himself up while letting out a few pained groans. He even pats his side, hoping to somehow reduce the discomfort. Yeseol watches his strange movements with concern. She leans toward him and asks whether he is really okay. Jinsu immediately panics. He frantically waves his hands and stammers that everything is completely fine. He insists that it is nothing she needs to worry about. To his surprise, Yeseol laughs playfully. She tells him that it is fine because she already understands exactly what is happening. She acknowledges that remaining in that condition for such a long time must be incredibly uncomfortable for him. Jinsu scratches the back of his head, completely embarrassed. Yeseol's expression softens. She tells him that she feels sorry for the pain he must be experiencing. Jinsu tries to act like everything is under control and hopes the discomfort will eventually disappear. Then Yeseul unexpectedly moves closer. With a determined expression, she decides to help him get some relief by starting a chest workout together. Afterward, Yeseul looks up at him with a sweet, slightly blushing smile. She asks whether the experience actually made him feel better. Then she stands up and reassures him that he should be fine now that he has gotten some relief. With a playful laugh and a finger against her lips, she tells him that he can finally put everything away and get himself properly sorted out. Jinsu is left in total shock. He realizes that his situation is still very much on display, and embarrassment immediately takes over. Yeseul walks toward the exit. Before leaving, she looks back at him warmly and says that she is looking forward to seeing him again soon. Jinsu can only flinch and nervously tell her to take care of herself.